Christians, go Christians, go Christians.
Got this Bible on me, I got 60 scriptures on me right now. Look my demons in their face today and told them pipe down. Told me that this Christian walk is weak, dog is hype now.
Welcome back to another episode of the BBH podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Outlaw. I'm here with my co-host, Kevo, and we got a special guest for you guys today. I'm here with Coach Durwin, and he has a very special organization here he runs here in Arizona called We Pray, We Play. And I'm going to just let him tell you guys, who he is and, what he does. So, Coach, let them know who you are and a little bit about your organization.
Okay. All right. My name is Durwin. I've been living in Arizona for 13 years. I originally moved here to play basketball in the ABA for a team called the Arizona Scorpions. And moving to Arizona was kind of a reset for me in a time of my life where I was kind of at a crossroads of figuring out that I want to continue to chase my dream of playing basketball or if I wanted to transition into something else. Mm-hmm. And I ultimately found out that God had the say in it, right? I thought it was going to be my decision. So I moved here. How I got here was even random because we played against the Arizona Scorpions on a team that I was on called the LA Slam. And I had gotten into an argument with my coach about what defense he wanted to run. So he was like, oh, I'm going to bench you. So he ended up benching me. And then we were losing by like 20. So at halftime, he said, fine, I'm going to put you in. So he put me in and we came back. Mm-hmm. So we ended up losing in overtime, but I had a great game. I ended up having like 27 and a half. So the coach from that team.
Wait, 20? Did you just say 27 and a half?
Yeah, I had 27 in the second half. And overtime.
Oh, in a half?
Yeah.
Where do you get this half point from?
Yeah. 27 and a half.
Yeah, in a half. Yeah.
So the coach came up to me after the game and he said, if you would have played the whole game, you guys would have won. If you ever want to come to Arizona, let me know. So I'm sitting at my grandma's house in Compton, literally just like, what am I going to do this summer?
So are you from Compton?
I grew up in Compton. I grew up in Carson. I lived in Compton for 15 years. So between that and getting sent to Texas for high school for 3 years, that's pretty much where I spent most of my childhood. And then my mom ended up moving to a town called Moreno Valley, and I did a year there, my senior year in high school. But that's a whole nother story because I ended up moving back because my mom got diagnosed with breast cancer. Oh, wow. So I moved from Texas back to California for a year. But back to the ABA story. So I ended up hitting coach up and I said, hey, when do you guys have tryouts? And he says, oh, today. And I said, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So I ended up scrambling, getting a flight. I probably had $300 to my name. I got a standby flight. And this is before Uber. This is taxi days, 2012, where there was no Uber cracking yet. So I called a taxi to, I think it was Glendale Community College where they practice. Went to tryouts, killed. I remember the prayer I said to this day. I said, God, I don't need a miracle. I just need to play to the best of my ability and do the things I've been working on. Amen. And if it's meant for me to be here, my game will speak for itself. I locked up on D. My jump shot was on. Just made plays. And then trials was 2 days. It was Friday and Saturday, but I had a Drew game that weekend. So coach said, I seen enough. Like, I'm going to figure out where we're going to put you. Mm-hmm. And I own a day program for people with disabilities. So you can work there and then play on the team. So I was like, all right, bet. Went back home, finished up my Drew League games. And then coach sent for me, moved out here. That's where I met James Singleton, who now coaches at my program as well. But he's a coach at AZ Compass Prep on the national team. So we got a lot of people in our program.
Compass Prep, what's that?
It's a school on the East Valley. It's like a prep school.
Okay.
Yeah, and they got one of the best programs on the boys and girls side in the nation. And they do regular high school and then like a national team. Okay. So so I got here. I'm good, thinking everything is cool. I made it out here. This is where I'm supposed to be. And then third week here, ruptured my Achilles. So then it was a blessing in disguise though, because getting hurt made me realize that my calling wasn't necessarily being a player. It was to be a coach. Mm. And my first coaching opportunity was Special Olympics. So imagine getting here, getting injured, being on crutches, ruptured Achilles, you're done for the year. Ain't no two ways about it. You're done. And then having the opportunity to coach Special Olympics and then being on crutches too. Right. So it was like a running joke, like, Special Olympics coaches on crutches, ha, ha, ha. But what it did was it taught me everything that I needed to know moving forward about humility and just making sacrifices to help others. And then also something that just brought tears to my eyes instantly. I got hurt on a Thursday. I still went to work at the day program that next day. And I pulled up on crutches. There's people there on wheelchairs. There's people there that have had things they've been dealing with their whole life.
Yeah.
And they were helping me. Like, do you
Right.
need anything? Opening the doors for me, like grabbing me stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, I'm here to help them. I'm here to take care of them. And they see me with just a basketball injury. It's not
Yeah.
life-threatening. It's not,
Yeah.
gonna really change anything too much in my life outside of hooping. And they just took care of me.
Mhm.
Like, they were just very kind to me. And it just opened my eyes a lot to how much I took for granted. And then,
Man.
I took,
I was just about to say
yeah.
that we take a lot of things for granted. You know what I mean? And it's not until it happens then that we realize, like, dang, I could just get up out the bed and walk. Something as simple as that. Like,
Yep.
it's crazy.
And it was as worse as a scenario. Well, it wasn't as worse. I won't even say that. But we lived on the 3rd floor of our apartment, no elevator. So I'm hopping up. The car that the coach hooked me up with was a stick shift, so I couldn't drive. So I went from just...
Oh, so you didn't, prior to that, you didn't know how to drive a stick shift?
Yeah, I knew how to drive
Okay.
a stick shift. I just didn't have a whip till I got out here.
Okay.
And I was scrounging together. Even in that
Yeah.
2 weeks in between me getting the spot on the team to moving to California, like a couple things happened to where I just ended up having a couple $1,000s to pay my rent and get established. So
Right.
everything just worked out so smooth that I
God's
was like,
plan.
all right, this is going to be easy.
Yeah.
Like, this is easy. I'm going to be hooping. I got a job during the day. And then boom, Achilles just changed everything, but it changed it for the better because I started coaching and then I got my real estate license. And then from there, my life just started to turn. And even though I wasn't playing, I was still involved in sports through coaching. And I found that to be much more rewarding because I was able to pour into other people and just help them. And also just to let them know that sports are an opportunity and a vehicle to just learn discipline, structure,
Absolutely.
teamwork, how to work with people. And then also being in Special Olympics, you have to learn how to talk to and coach everybody differently. And it's the same with kids, but not so much because you might have somebody that's really athletic, but they might have something where they need extra attention with their hand or something, right?
Right.
So, or you might have a guy that's a really good shooter, but he's not able to really dribble, right?
Okay.
So it's like certain things that you got to say, okay, we got to run this exact play to get this guy this shot right here. And if that ain't there, then we got to like sort of do this. But I was coaching them like they were Duke.
Yeah.
I had them 1-3-1 trapping and all that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we were cooking. We were cooking
Yeah.
to the point where I got in trouble.
So the Special Olympics were adults? Or
Yeah, it was
okay,
adults.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it was adults.
Okay.
Yeah, so we were cooking to the point where we were beating people so bad they were like, you guys need to take it easy. And I said, well, after we get up, I tell my players stop blocking shots and don't steal the ball, but I'm not gonna tell them to miss on purpose.
Right.
And I'm not gonna tell them to not play defense. So like it was kind of like a fine line, but
Why even tell them to not block shots? Like,
we were beating people
Just
like
really
65 to 2.
Yeah.
It
but
was-
they're all. It's not like it's not disabled people playing versus
Yeah.
it's just all disabled people.
I
like,
get it. And
Yeah.
coming from where I'm from, as
Yeah.
Tony,
Yeah.
you better figure out how to stop us.
Yeah.
Right. So I still deal with this to this day, even with my kids. We don't like if we score touchdowns, right? We're beating the team bad. We don't want to go for 2,
Yeah.
right? We
Yeah.
just want to get
Yeah.
the one and just don't even over celebrate.
Yeah.
We don't want to cross that line between being confident and executing and just rubbing
Cocky.
it into people's
Mhm.
faces.
Yeah.
Right? So even now I have to talk with my coaches like, hey, I know we want to run our stuff. We want to execute. We have a standard of excellence, of course. But if we're beating people, we don't want to rub it into their face. We ain't going to let y'all score. Like, oh, we're just going to let you run down the sideline. But
It's
you
a
know,
real thin line.
yeah, it is. And I
Yeah.
teeter it every day
Yeah.
because I want to be competitive and I want to help the kids, but I also want to have humility in there and I want to have an understanding of, is it going to help us or is it going to put strain on relationships out in the community because we're overdoing it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a balancing act that I struggle with daily. And I'm not perfect. And I don't call myself a leader. I call myself a servant. So if I can help
Sure.
somebody navigate through something that I struggle with,
Mm.
I might be able to help them better than I can help myself in that area because I'm like, okay, I made mistakes doing this, this, and this. I don't want you to go through that same path. So I just try to help people from a service mindset instead of a leadership mindset
Okay.
because sometimes people get a little bit big-headed when they say, oh, I know what I'm doing. I've been coaching for this many years or I
Right.
played in
Can't get
college.
that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, okay, I know that I ended up getting a scholarship and playing, but I lead with the things I did wrong more so than telling people the things I did right.
Yep.
Right? I got, okay, I wasn't taking care of my diet.
Yeah.
I wasn't taking care of my grades enough because I knew they were going to figure out a way to pass me anyway.
Right.
So I would go to class, go to sleep, right? And I'm like, no, I didn't help myself at all. So I stay on the kids and I help them understand that I made mistakes along the way. And I don't want you to be like me. I want you to be 10 times better than me. And the only way I can do that is by serving and just coming in with a very humble mindset and asking people, what can I do to help you accomplish your goals?
So which college did you go to?
I went to Glendale Community College. That's a whole nother story how I ended up there.
I think I heard about, because I just played in Armenia and they said like Glendale's like our little Armenia or something. So so every time I was out there, they like, where you from? Like Chicago. Oh, LA, Glendale. Like so they said I was hearing about that school out there. So that's crazy.
Yep, it is a little Armenia. And that community is very competitive.
Yeah.
I had some Armenian teammates and just people in the community. One of the coaches there now, I think he's still there, Coach Vegan. I think his name is Vegan. He's Armenian.
Coach Vegan.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Vegan. I don't think he plant-based. I don't know.
Yeah. They say they be having a lot of tournaments out there and it be very like hectic. Yeah, very. So I just heard about that.
Yeah, so you went from coaching in the Special Olympics, then what was your next transition?
I moved to Tucson because my ex-wife is from there. So I moved to Tucson and we were just sort of starting out our relationship. So I moved out there and I reached out to a coach of a program called the Tucson Roadrunners.
I heard
Jimmy Nelson.
Yeah.
So I asked him for an opportunity to just come out and coach, just pro bono. I just want to be out there with the kids, just, doing what I do. I just love it so much. So I hit him up and he said, yeah, come out. So we came out and he just let me run practice. Just as a tryout for me, I guess, as a coach. So I ran practice, and after practice, he came up to me and said, hey, I'm going to give you my best team. He said, I think I've taken them as far as they can go, and the way you train and, what you do is obvious that you can help them. So I walked into that situation, and that next weekend, we had a tournament with sixth graders. Yeah, so I'm like, all right, man, it's a lot of pressure. But they hadn't really been winning. They had talent though. Yeah. So I was like, all right, let me hurry up and get my brake installed. Let me get my 221 installed. Let me get everything installed that I know I would want to run where I'm from. So we installed all that. And I was on these kids too. A lot of them had never really been coached outside of like, nice try. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I need you up. I need you. Yeah. When they cross half court, we trapping that, all that. I want them. So we won our first tournament. And that caused dissension though. Okay. Because now I don't have favorites out there. Yeah. Right? I don't know who was the guy before I even got there. Right. So another guy that ended up being my assistant, he ended up taking his kid and starting their own team after that tournament. I'm like, why would you leave? We won. Right. Won our first tournament. Why would we leave? But he wanted to do his own thing. So from there we took off, and I ended up having a really good run with that group. I have a couple kids that are in college now from that group. Evan Nelson that was at Harvard. Okay. He's now just transferred to University of Arizona, so he went back to Tucson for his senior year. So that's going to be exciting. Yeah, try to make it out there to see them, and then we had a lot of good kids. Majuk Dang, who is from Sudan. He has a couple brothers that played as well. Yeah. I think I see you post about him. Majuk. Yeah, he just finished out in the school in Colorado. He went to Pepperdine and he went to I think a NAI or a D2. Might have been a D2. It's called College of the Mines. Okay. Yeah, I think it's I don't want to give false information about it's a D2. Yeah. So so I got lucky and had a really, really good group, and I was just able to kind of cultivate them and just add a little bit of toughness. And Coach Jimmy's great. Coach Jimmy, Yvonne Nelson, they're really great, and they trusted me. Because I had moments where
Are you speaking about Coach Jimmy, the one that you're with now?
No, Coach Jimmy in Tucson. His name is Jimmy Nelson, is Evan's dad. They just trusted me. And they were just hands off, like, okay, you going. I had to learn a lot. Because it was like, I was competitive. I was fiery. I was like 30, 31 at the time. Yeah. And at that time, you think, I'm a grown man. And then now as I get older, I look back like, I was dumb.
Yeah, you're still a kid.
Yeah, I was still dumb, And my pastor in California said something that resonated with me as I grew up. Pastor Harden, he said, you don't get your man brain till you turn 30. That's what he told me and my boy Vince. And I was like, 20-something. Like, I'm good.
Right.
6'6", 225. Like, nah, you a baby.
Yeah.
I was a baby. So looking back at my life being 42 and just being able to look back, even in a couple month increments or year increments and saying, okay, I could have been eating better. I could have been drinking more water. I could have been doing X, Y, Z. And then even my injuries, I learned a lot from them because they pushed me to a better diet because I had a lot of inflammation and scar tissue from rupturing. And I've done both of my Achilles. So I got the double whammy as far as injuries, right, as a hooper.
So did you ever come back? Like,
not even, I had to.
Okay. Yeah. So like after you healed it, you still playing?
I had to because I wasn't going to let it defeat me.
Right. Yeah, okay.
So I went to Lifetime Fitness Men's League and cooked them.
Because I know they always try to say once you rupture your Achilles, they be, it's over with, so that's why I just asked, like, man, because I know that would hurt me to get hurt and then be like,
done.
You can't play again. Yeah, that'll kill you. So, but I wanted to ask you, like, was it like a tough transition from player to coach, or was it just like normal? Because, a lot of people say, just because you're a good player, that'll make you a good coach, or, it's like, it's different. So I just want to know, like, was it like a smooth transition? Like, you wanted to be coached, like you coached how you wanted to be coached, or it's like, you coached from prior coaches, or how was that?
Yeah. That's literally, I was blessed with great coaches. When I moved to Texas, I had a coach, Rick Shirley, who coached the McDonald's All-American game my senior year. He's probably one of the most winningest coaches in Texas. Even when I went back to California, I had a really good coach that probably got like 700 wins. Yeah. Then my first year in the ABA, I had Vincent Askew that played for the Seahawks with Gary Payton. So, Supersonics, Seahawks, Seattle Supersonics. So I had some good coaches that I was able to steal from. Right. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a little bit of this.
That's what it's about.
I probably made up like 5% of the stuff I do coaching, right? It's like 90, it's 40% Coach Shirley, a little bit here. I might watch a couple of videos or whatever. And then some stuff I just make up on the fly, like, just kind of figuring out, what I want my kids to be able to do. But I think that being coachable is the biggest thing that will help somebody be a coach, because you got players that can hoop. Right. But they're not necessarily coachable, right? They want to run it their way. They want to play their way. And you say, okay, I used to hoop. I used to average X, Y, Z. I got a scholarship. And then when it comes to coaching, they can't because they were never coachable. Right. And then also I was always the type of player where I would know everybody's spot on the floor. So if something happened and I needed to initiate the offense at the one, I knew how to run UCLA from there. Right. Everything from every spot, just, inbounding. I just took the time to say, okay, how can I make myself more valuable to my team? And that's knowing the different spots and being able to say, man, scoot over. Or just wait right there and let's go over here and do this. And then you're going to be open. And just having people realize, like, it's not always about necessarily having the ball, but you might be the one to finish the play for us just off everybody being in the right spot. So figuring out those things early and listening to my coaches, everything that I went through as a player was preparing me to be a coach. It was never about me being a player. And looking back and really understanding that now, I'm like, okay, so let's just say I end up having the best career I could have as a player or whatever. Let's say I end up sneaking into the league as a defensive stopper. And I'm Ruben Patterson 2.0 or whatever, right? Okay, I might make money, retire, or start a youth organization or whatever the case may have been, whatever path God had put out for me. The adversity, the struggle, the injuries, the bouncing around, the sleeping on couches and all that, helped me figure out, like, okay, exactly. Yes. Yep. It helped me figure it out early when I was saying I had everything and I crashed out. Right. It was just like, all right, it was just a slow build up. And it's like, okay, I started coaching at 30 and I wish I would have started sooner. I wish I'd have just said, okay, but if I did, I wouldn't have went through all those lessons to help me be a better coach. So, so it's just like, okay, everything God was working on me before I even knew it. Right.
KO, I think that's what will make you a phenomenal coach. Just everything you've been through and all the battles and the adversity that you just overcome. Just the everything, bro. Just from not playing AAU, from high school, sitting on the bench, just all those and just making it pro. Man, I just really think that we talked about you coaching too as well, and I think that
I always said that. Like I used to always say, like, and I'm not talented, or like, like, oh, this person could jump high, this person could shoot, or, and then like when I got older, I'm like, God didn't really bless me with talents. But then like when I got older, it's like that work ethic or that adversity, like that strength to fight through adversity is like, that's a talent in itself. You know what I mean? Because the top people I know, like that was here, that was this, that. As soon as they hit one adversity, they were done. They're like, oh, forget it, whatever. So it's like, you can bench me, you can say, you can curse me out. If in my heart, I was like, I don't care what you say. I know what I set out to be. And if it's, God's will and I'm going to keep praying about it, then I'm going to make it. So regardless of the nights I cried and, it was like, man, doubts, it still was like something in me still got up to go work out, email a coach. So it's just, that was a talent in itself. So I always thank God for that because that's really what got me this far too.
So Coach, with the with the Road Runners, you guys won your first tournament. Everything's looking good out there. Talk to me how we're getting to We Pray, We Play.
Okay, so I started after the Road Runners. I moved from Tucson back to Phoenix, so I was still driving out there twice a week, hour and 45 minutes there, hour and 45 minutes back.
I know that drive. Right? I know that drive.
Yeah, so that was taxing on me. And then the program started to transition as the kids got older, right? They, started to merge and, do different things. So I started to coach high school, but then I was also at the same time starting my family, and I had young kids.
Right.
So I was at a tough spot to where it was like, okay, I got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old and a baby on the way. And I was like, can I keep straining myself, coaching right now, or can I take a break and then as my kids get a little bit older, because Hazel, my 9-year-old daughter, and my son Bishop, they were in the gym every day. They was on the sideline. First they started off with iPads and snacks, then they started off dribbling, right? So now they, running on the court trying to get up a shot. So it just went from them transitioning. I'm like, okay, let me take a little bit of time and just focus on my kids and, getting them all up into school age. And then when they got a little bit bigger, I say Hazel was probably 7, Bishop 5, my youngest was 3. I was like, okay, let's start to train, right? Let's really start to train. Let's get out there. And then we go to the park, and then the kid come up. Can I jump in? We add a kid, then somebody I know bring their son. Then from there, we ended up with like a group of 5 or 6. I'm like, okay, we might could scrounge together a little team, right?
Yeah.
Then, and what year is this?
This is 2023.
Okay.
2023 we probably started to, get after it a little bit. So then by 2020, the end of 2023, I was like, okay, let's make this something. So I was thinking of a name of what to call it. Like maybe like November. And it took a while. I couldn't think of anything. You get all these cool names that come up, but they're all cliche. You look around and you can type in on the internet, such and such Rebels basketball or whatever, right? 10 of them, right? Everything you type in, even if you think it's something cool that you thought of, you go look it up and it's that somewhere else, right? So I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna call this, Lord. I don't know. And then one day I was laying there in bed and I got up and I said, we pray, we play. And I was like, the prayer part got to be first, because that foundation is going to set us up to prepare us for everything else. And I was like, all right, I got our little practice shirts printed out, ordered like 100 of them, because I always wanted to scale up. Even though we only had 7 kids, I said, we're going to be big. We're going to have a lot of kids. Exactly. So I ordered 150 coaching shirts. I probably got like 30 of them. I just swap them out every day. But I just started it from there. And then I started off with a couple kids from my kids' school, my kids. Then we ended up with about 30 kids. By the time it was time for us to go to our first tournament for flag, it was a year ago tomorrow. So it was May 11th was our first tournament. So we had 6U, 7U. I think we have 4 teams out there. Yeah, we have 4 teams, and a lot of kids played on multiple teams. That ended up hurting them because they were playing too much, right? Little kids playing too much is not always the best because of their attention span and hydration and just also playing up when you're new. A lot of people think playing up is going to help them, and I think that it's better to start off in league, because when you put somebody out in a competitive playing up their first tournament, those kids have been playing since they were 5. Right? And you just starting off at 7.
Right.
They got 2 years of experience, and then we're going to play you up as well. That was tough for a lot of kids to adjust. So a lot of people started to fall by the wayside. So I would say we started off getting smacked too. We went out there.
Is this the Center Kid League?
No, we went to a heart count our first tournament.
What?
Yeah. So we went to the biggest tournament. One of the biggest tournaments, our first tournament with all kids that never played. So every team got smacked, didn't win the game except the team I was coaching, our 6U team. We made it to the championship and lost to a really good team that was like nationally ranked. So I was like, okay, we ain't too bad, but we got to go back to the drawing board everywhere else. So we started really just being diligent. Like, okay, we're going to practice 4 or 5 times a week. We were still hooping too, you know, so I was doubling up my days. We go basketball at 4:30 or 5, football after. And only a couple kids were doing both. My kids were always consistently training in 2 sports at once. So I look at that now and say how much it's helped them as far as just their hand-eye coordination, their ability to turn their hips, their ability to high point the ball.
I tell my daughter all the time, it's key. If you want to be good, play multiple sports. You know, just do it. Just try it out. If you want to stick to football, that's fine. But just play football, play baseball. You know, do these things. It'll help you out.
Yeah. So we went from that 30-something kids we started with to parents saying, "Oh, we just gonna go back to the church league. Oh, we just gonna go back to where it's easy." And I'm like, "Yo." On the other side of adversity is greatness, where we got to push through it. We can't just run back to where we were dominating at.
But you're comfortable with it.
Yeah, that's where all of them ran back to where they was cool at, right? So I said, okay, at some point, all these kids y'all running from, y'all going to have to play them in middle school, high school. We can just keep chipping away with it now. So we ended up literally with my 3 kids. We had another kid that you'll see on the video, Andre, but he was playing tackle at the time, and then we had Coach Jimmy's son, Kyson. We went from 30-something kids to 5 kids in the program. My kids, one of my best friend's son, and then Coach Jimmy's son. That was all we had. So I said, okay, we got my homeboy Julio's son, Kai, and then a kid from my youngest son, Kashi, who he was in Sandbox preschool with, who had never played a sport ever. We got them 2, and that gave us 5, and then we went to a tournament in August and swept through everybody. And what I realized was sometimes less is more, obviously, but when you don't have all these distractions, when you don't have all these people with different agendas saying, oh, my son should be the quarterback, or he should be this, and he should be that. And I'm just like, well, we got 5. You can't come off the field if you tired.
Exactly.
You got to dig in. Like, we got to play through our best players. Everybody else we're going to develop along the way. And from there, since August, I think we won 11 out of our last 14 tournaments.
Yeah, so you guys are cooking.
So we went from unheard of, like, new to, like, top 10 in the nation just all within this year of playing in tournaments. But I can tell you why. We stayed consistent. God being at the center helped. People tried to come in with, other agendas and negative, but it was so obvious that they weren't aligned with the assignment. Because the assignment stayed the same. We're praying with the kids every day. Our coaches are holding each other accountable. Nobody's peeking at somebody's mama. Like, we don't have all those things that, might be going on in sports. So it just made it a lot easier to navigate around it. And it's like, okay, this is our schedule. We're going 4 or 5 days a week. Ain't no 2 ways about it. If you're here, you're going to get better. If you're not, you're going to eventually fall off. And people have tried to come and jump on the bandwagon, but they don't last because they don't know what it took to build it. They didn't have to go through the beginning when we were getting cooked and say, okay, well, what can we do as coaches? And to be honest, and I tell people this all the time, about 75% of it was us as coaches having to learn how to coach that particular sport. Because I'm a basketball guy. Okay, I know football. I grew up playing football too. I'm nice at Madden and college football, whatever. I can throw, I can catch all that. But flag football is different. You got to go out there with a different mindset than 11v11 football because it's 5 versus 5, and then like the rules are different, and you can run up on somebody and just run into them to tackle them. But flags, you got to break down like basketball, close out, right? It's a close out, and then it's to turn your hips and kind of glue to it. So learning how to coach all those things, and some drills you might have to make up, and you got to educate yourself and learn. I had to learn.
You learn it every day.
I had to learn how to be a quarterback coach because we didn't have a quarterback. Bishop, maybe I would say 14 months ago, would never play quarterback. So I had to learn how to train my son to be a quarterback. So now I got to go watch videos and I have a cousin that played D1 quarterback and played a little professionally. I had Bishop work with him. I recorded it, not to post it, but so I can go back and watch it.
Right.
To say, okay, you got to step like this. You got to look here first. You got to have this shoulder open so you can see the weak side blitz and just all these things that I had to learn. But it goes back to something we talked about at the beginning. Being coachable as a man, right? I had to be coachable in order to learn how to become a coach. If I go in and say, I got it figured out or I know what I'm talking about, now when somebody gives me advice or somebody offers help or anything, I'm going to be closed off and non-receptive to that information because of my ego.
Yeah.
But really, I'm coming in an empty cup saying, what can I learn and then what can I pour? Opposed to saying, oh, I know more than those guys. Why they? No, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
Like, put me in the position, Lord, to learn, and then I'm going to take that information and then I'll pass it out as needed. So now we got a bunch of quarterbacks just from me taking the time to learn. Now we got a bunch of kids that can throw and play all over the place.
So you had the We Pray, We Play, and you keep God at the center of the program.
Yes, sir.
Has there ever been parents or kids that wanted to come play for the program that was of different faith, and how did you kind of get through that? Or did you ever have to struggle with that? Or
no, I haven't had to run into that because I think that we are so loud and upfront about what we stand for and what we are that it would kind of probably deter somebody that came in with that energy or effort. And honestly, if they were a hard worker and motivated and came in, as long as they're not worshiping the devil or doing anything negative that's going to, take us off the path, that would be pretty obvious to see, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, when you have clarity and just inner peace, it's easy just to see when somebody's coming in, and it happens from time to time where people is like, oh, my kid ain't playing enough, X, Y, Z. And I'm like, okay, well, do you think I want to lose? Don't you think I want to play the players that are going to help us win? If I see a player that's not ready, sometimes parents seek exposure for their kid, and they realize they end up exposing their kid to failure because they throwing them into that too soon when we got kids that been here the whole time that know what to do in these situations. Okay, I throw little Johnny Bravo out there in the clutch, and he don't do well, and now it's like, okay, now they're questioning me, Coach, why'd you have them in? They can't catch or they can't this. So sometimes people need to be more patient with their own children's development. Because me, I'm patient. I went through the ringer already with, I promise you, Special Olympics. You have to be very diligent about how you explain things. And if you got to do it a million times, guess what? You got to do it a million times. So with the younger kids, I'm never, okay, let's go back. Now, the only thing I've ever had a problem with is not paying attention or not giving your best effort. But if we're trying and you're learning, we got time. They're 6 through 9. We're not, nobody's going into the draft. Nobody's up for a scholarship. So if it takes 5 years and you stay with it and you got a good attitude, okay, I'm going to work with you.
I like you said that. That's exactly what I tell my daughter. At her age, you're not going to the WNBA or just playing USA Olympic football right now. This is about getting the lessons in everything, character building and those things. So I just try to make sure she understands that what we're at right now is not where you're going to be in the future, that get what you can get from this and move on. Yeah. But so what I want to do now, we're running a little low on time. I want to show a little clip on you guys actually praying and going through that motion. And where set the scene for me. Where is this at?
Yeah, this is at my kid's house. We use that when it's not too hot outside, just as where we train.
Yeah.
It's more private, so we don't got to worry about traffic or kids having to go to the bathroom off. And sometimes you even when you live in an area that you think is safe, there's still a lot of things that you got to kind of worry about out there. So I try to just put us in environments where we can kind of just focus, and also to a lot of these kids, I'm very close to their family, so my coaching approach isn't always, man, nice try. Sometimes I tell them, like, hey, man, you got a good life. Like, stop being a crybaby. Like, you need to focus and lock in.
Yeah.
Like, if somebody walking by here that they might not understand the message, but to the people that we love each other and care about each other, we have an obligation to help each other, stay on the path and get through these things. So I don't know if we can supposed to.
Is there sound? Is there? No sound? Got the highlights on too, all good.
And then at the bottom on the right, that little microphone. Yeah, speaker.
There we go. All right.
Nora. quick one.
So I see your daughter in there.
Yeah, that's Hazel. Our girls hoop team is going to be really good because they've been training for 16 months. They haven't played in the game yet, but when it comes to fundamentals, jump stopping and kicking, how to guard it, being able to run sets. No matter what offense you put them in, they're going to know how to screen, how to come off, how to read a curl and pop. They know all this stuff from the beginning of learning how to play the game. So this ain't let's get you dribbling all around the yard and then let's teach you how to run the offense. I think that's backwards. Yeah. I think you want to teach them how to run the offense and then build their skill set to dribble when needed. Right? Instead of saying, we're going to do a bunch of individual bop, bop, bop. And then, in the game, only dribble 3 times. Right? I think that's kind of backwards, right? Because everybody catch it and they want to go. And I'm like, hold on. Let's set that screen, see if we can get a layup first. Then that's going to open up that. And now, if we're ever in a situation where we need you to go, then just go. But if we can get easy points off screens and playing like Popovich, we're going to play like that.
I'm real in tune to how you practice and how you train the kids, and I love it because that, like you said, you're real into the fundamentals of the game first, and that's what they need to learn at an early age, that the pivoting and just the fundamentals of the game, and not just going out there shooting the threes and like what kids like to do these days is get the fundamentals down pat first.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I don't know if we got the sound.
Okay, so all good.
Okay.
So this is basically what they're doing there in their back, praying, giving thanks to the Lord that they have the ability to pray, play and pray. Let's go to the highlights. Let's show some highlights of your squad out there, out in Levine doing their thing.
Okay, we have some of our 6U players playing up in 8-9-year-old division, and I just wanted them to be pushed. And that's Bishop, that's our quarterback. But Andre also can play quarterback, so we like to move them around. It makes our offense dynamic because you never know who's going to throw it or who's going to catch it.
How old are you?
3 of them are 7, but they're 6U eligible, and then Andre just turned 8 and Hazel is 9.
Oh,
and they're all playing against 9-10-year-olds. So
wow.
The boys are playing up, and Hazel's kind of playing kids her age, but they're all boys too.
Right.
Yeah, so.
Oh, that's
Yes.
That's Hazel chasing. Yeah, that's Bishop with the pick. You know, having my son and daughter out there. My younger son is playing on the 5U team, just so he can play his age because he's been playing since he was 4.
Yeah.
So he never had the chance to play kids his age and
to
realize
dominate
he's that
them.
guy.
Yeah.
So
I see the now, speak up like
now he's like, oh man, And I'm like, no, those kids are your age. But he's been playing up. He's always been the littlest, and then even at home, everything is a struggle that we do because you're going against his older sibling.
Right.
It breeds an animal. He's never had it easy.
Right.
And now you're playing kids his age. It's almost not fair. It's like, how many times do we want to give him the ball? Can't give him the ball on first down. He's going to score. Nobody else going to get the ball. So you got to kind of balance that out. And that's another thing that goes back to, okay, are we helping the team? Yeah, we can give him the ball first down every down. He's going to score. And is the team really working on things we're going to need in tight games?
Right.
No, right? We just watching him take off running.
Exactly.
So we try to balance that out with like, all right, let's run some offense. So when we get in a tight game, we know we can do other things other than give him the ball.
So question, we're good with the highlights and whatnot. It's a beautiful thing. They're out there in Levine. Shout out to the syndicate lead out there.
Great lead.
Coach Dion put together a great organization out there. My daughter plays for the 12U girls team out there, and they get a chance to cook versus the boys and do their thing out there too as well. What I want to ask you about your kids that play flag football and basketball, any of the boys ever say, hey, Dad, man, I want to do some tackle? Or how do you feel about
tackle?
What?
And I've been very adamant with them about helping them understand that. We've had kids come over from tackle that are freak athletes and they have no fundamentals because tackle from the ages of like maybe 6 to 8, they throw the ball a little bit, don't get me wrong, but there's really no linemen, right? Everybody's the same size. You got kids that are probably going to end up being a running back, being on the line. Center, right? You don't really know. So, it's usually daddy ball where the coach son is a quarterback and they're going to run the ball a lot with him and they got a little running back that they're going to toss right, toss left. But they're not really developing the route running, the being able to read the field and drop back. It's usually a lot of one reads. And I know because I grew up in a football family, Pop Warner system. All you need is 2 guys, quarterback and the guy to pitch it to and let him run and you good to go. Well, in flag, you got to develop a full skill set of being able to cover. You got to be able to have your route running in order. Even at the entry level of 6, we got kids running routes and catching passes over the top. They're also building their confidence and their fundamentals. And then, okay, what are they really going to gain right now by tackling before they have a skill set? Right? Okay, you can say, okay, they starting off hitting. Okay, they're starting off hitting without a skill set. That would be like starting jiu-jitsu, right? Start off jiu-jitsu, and then after your first 2 classes, you say we're going to a tournament. It's like, okay, well, why are we going to a tournament when we just learning how to grapple starting out? And what are we going to gain from that? I would rather train even before our first tournament that we did in May last year. We practiced from December to May before we did it. So that was 6 months of practice and training. People quit in between that time because they wanted to rush to play. And I say, okay, you want to rush to play, but why? You don't know the game. You're not fundamentally sound enough to go out there and compete. And then the kids that stayed, we lost in the championship, but we beat people that have been playing simply because we trained so much and then we scrimmage a lot at practice. Because, I mean, even dancing around cones and even basketball, right? We can go bop, bop every cone, but a lot of defenders different. Then you got to read the help. Right? These are different things that you got to be able to look at and, okay, we can bop cones, and I can do a million training videos that look good. We're waving a little wand at people, doing all these tricks, and then they get out there in the game and they can't read the defense or play defense or run a break or break a press because all they did was dribble the whole time. You're going to dribble right into the trap, head down, frustrated, can't get your shot up. And it's just like, why is it that way? But I feel like it's set up that way because you can sign up for a city league. Okay, signed up, here go my 200. We got practice one time on Wednesday, and then we play Saturday. How much can you install in 1 hour and a half of practice?
Yeah, that's why I love y'all program, man. Y'all practice 3 days a week.
Man,
y'all just
one sport. We do
Yeah.
both sports, and sometimes we double up a day. But that just prepares them. Okay, we're going out to a tournament. We got to play 5 games, right, to win a championship. If you're only used to practicing for an hour and a half, you're going to go out there 5 hours in the sun, you're going to be cooked. So I think that the way we practice and the way we prepare, like all old school coaches say, practice needs to be harder than the games, right? So practice needs to be tough. We need to be doing bear crawls. We need to be running. We need to go through adversity. And then when we get in the games, it's like, okay, I'm ready for this. I'm not tired, or I've been in a situation where we had to figure it out on the fly. And even my younger kids, they always have to go against older kids. So that helps them look at kids their age like, oh man, I'm not scared of them. Like, I'm not worried about it. Our older kids are probably had the most toughest time adjusting because they never had older kids to go against for the most part. So we play them up now just so they can get that over with. And then we qualify for Junior Olympics in Houston in July. So they've been playing up. So when we go to that.
Excuse me, talk to me about the Junior Olympics real quick. That's not the Nationals. What is the Junior Olympics? What is that?
Junior Olympics is through AAU.
Okay.
So it's
AAU. It's totally different.
And they're starting to push flag football, for the Olympics in 2028. So they're starting to do Junior Olympics. And it's just a whole nother area for kids to push into. We got the local tournaments, and then we got, nationals for the local stuff. But Junior Olympics is something just completely different where it's going to draw from the national stage. There's going to be teams from all over, every state that, is big on football. So
you guys are doing that this summer?
Yeah, we're doing that. Yeah, we're going to Houston. So
and what age group is that?
It's going to be 7U, but it's going to be based on January 1st birthday. Okay. Right now it's based on August 1st birthday. So you got some kids that are playing 6U to just turn 7.
So what's Hazel going to do?
Hazel is not going to play in Junior Olympics, but we have enough girls now for a girls team. So we're going to train them up, though. We're going to go through the same, even better, though. Now that we learn from our mistakes, we'll train them and we'll put them in league first, let them play locally right around the corner, let them see how that feels, make sure they can, dominate there before you go. Like a lot of people like to travel and they can't win at home. Like, why y'all spend $5,000 to go to Florida and you can't win in your own backyard? That don't make sense to me. You could utilize those resources, play at home, and then build your kids up. And also, you don't want to put all that strain on your families because I hear people talk about kids getting burnt out all the time. Oh, them kids practice too much.
Hey, speaking about the parents being burnt
The
out.
parents
Me,
are the ones
I'm
burnt
one
out.
of them. I mean, I get
Tired
it's a lot. It's
all
a
your
lot.
evenings are going
Especially
to
if you're
practice.
by yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're single, by yourself, you're taking them to practice, 3 practices a week. You're traveling, and it becomes a lot. Man.
Yeah, paying for everything.
You're right.
Yeah.
And those fees.
Yeah, and me and Jimmy are very adamant about making things as cheap as possible for
That's
our
what I
parents.
want to talk to you about too. So have you had any you guys being a non-for-profit organization, have you had any outside support for the organization? Any churches reach out to you or anything like that?
No,
or you just all
we've been
in-house?
doing everything in-house, and me and Jimmy pay for our kids as well. So it's not like, oh, coach, my kid's going to be free. Like whatever the tournament cost is, we divide that, we pay for our kids. Yeah. And that just puts less strain. Everything is all transparent. Like, hey, I'm not pocketing $200 every time we go out because I'm not looking to make money. I'm looking to build wealth. Right. So I'm looking to build these kids up to where, all right, man, we put in so much work with y'all early. Like I can sit back and just go to the game and watch. Right. That's different than, being that loud, obnoxious dad that's trying to overdo it out there on the field. Get all that out the way in private. Do all that work early. So I can go put on a little silly old man hat. And just go watch it. Enjoy it. I'm trying to do all that stuff early. But more importantly, like anything, it starts in the spirit, right? So if we build them up spiritually, then okay, you don't got to be out hanging out, partying, chasing all this attention and all these things. Your confidence, your ability to push through, it's all gonna come from God. And then from there, now when you go, it's like, okay, I know I did everything in my power to prepare you, because parents like to talk a lot about giving their kids what they never had. I want to give my kids everything I didn't have, but that's mostly material. You're right. That's mostly, I want to take my kids all around the world on vacation, but I'm like, okay, it starts in the spirit and all those things will come. And not only that, if you do it right and you build it up with the right foundation, not only will it come, you'll be able to sustain it. You're right. Because it's built right. Nobody wants to be a 2-year crash out where it's like, oh man, I got there and now I had 2 years, but man, I was drinking, smoking, and partying. Like my kids, even last night, we went to the store and I'm like, all right, what do y'all want for the weekend? They got fruit, stuff for smoothies, because they say, okay, this is going to help us stay hydrated through. And I'm just like, okay, well, my kids have seen me eat healthy and be vegan. And even when I'm not working out, like I just don't balloon up because of my diet. I'll fast in the morning or just go on watermelon juice for a week and stuff like that. And my kids see that and they're like, let me try that. And then now it's in their head like, okay, this stuff, doing this stuff is cool. And it ain't, it ain't weird or anything like that. But I grew up thinking it was weird too. Right. And then, all we had on the corner was Jack in the Box or whatever. And, you think you go get a 2 for $5 and you did yourself good. Or we used to hoop off, a Snicker or whatever.
That's exactly what I was going to get at too. We used to have the hot Cheetos and the cheese and the Snickers and stuff. And now I'm just, me being in father mode and coaching mode, is just like seeing these kids come to the games eating Cheetos and this stuff is just like kind of disappointing. Like, it's not good for you.
It's not. You're not going to be able to maintain it either, especially in tournaments. Where, you can get away with a little bit where you're just playing one game for 45 minutes. You can cheat the system, but it's gonna hurt you long term. Right. But when you're playing and you need to be out there and locked in for a lot of hours, that's a whole school day. 6-7 hours out there on the field is a long time. This is how rambunctious our schedule is. We play at 1, we play at 1:40, then we got bracket play. Then from there we're going to syndicate. Our games would have been from 5 all the way till 9. That's too many games for kids, realistically. But this is the only day we got to do that. But imagine if we got a bunch of sugar babies out there. They ain't focused. The
highs and the lows.
It's gonna be all over the place. So I'm glad that the kids see that.
But I would say also that comes with like financial issues at times too. Like especially like kids growing up in poverty or single parent homes. It's like we could eat good, but those are most likely more, what I mean? Or we may have $2, so we go to McDonald's, get a McDouble and the fries, you know what I mean? It's like, so sometimes it's like we're put in that position that we have no choice, like especially growing up as a kid. I can't, as an adult, those are the choices, you make. But I was just saying, like, as a kid, it's like we didn't really have nothing. So, okay, let's get a Snicker or something, like that's 50 cents and get off a little sugar and then we go hoop. So it's like, I'll just say, it is just like the financial issue is kind of a burden too on people. So,
that comes into play. And I think that also the ability to look at it and understand the difference between convenience, right? It's right there. Everything that's bad for us is readily accessible at the click of a DoorDash, right? But it might take a little bit to say, all right, man, I'm gonna go ahead and walk to Sprouts, right? Exactly. It's right there, but ain't no DoorDash for that probably or whatever, right? So you go over to Sprouts and it's like, okay, I got $5. Yeah, you can get right with $5. Yeah. You can get 4 bananas. You feel me? You can get an apple and whatever, and you'll be fueled. You can make that into a smoothie. Yeah. You can whip it, but it all starts with what do we know?
I was just gonna say that.
I was showing the wrong stuff. I ain't gonna lie. I was, I
didn't see smoothies growing up like that.
Man, I tasted beer when I was 5.
Right.
Let's be honest. I had people around me that wasn't necessarily showing me the right stuff. They say try this. I was like, oh, that's nasty. What they ended up doing, they made me not drink as I grew up because I tasted it early and said it's nasty. So it made me not even want it growing up. So I didn't know whether to be mad at them or to thank them. I didn't thank them, but doing those things early and also seeing certain things early makes me say, I ain't gonna do that when I grow up, because I seen all the different things that happened growing up in a situation where there wasn't much opportunity. Yeah. Right. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to do this. And also I give a lot of the older guys I grew up credit. They never said, oh, you going to be the little homie and you going to do X, Y, Z. Yeah. They would say, you better stay out of, you make sure you're going to school. And I still made bad choices along the way, but I was at school, but I was getting in trouble at school instead of just ditching or whatever, right? Yeah. So even though they were on me and there was a threat of, if you don't do right, I'm going to beat you up. It wasn't like, hey, man, here go a gun. You go out there and get in trouble. So that balance just kept me like, all right, I'm not going to get in too much trouble, but you're at school, you playing sports or whatever, you got a little bit of leeway, right? With being able to maybe slack on your grades and know coach gonna go talk to him. Right. So I grew up with kind of a good balance of that and knowing like, all right, my uncle and them gonna beat me up. Even though I know they probably not doing as good as they could be doing, but they own me to be on the better than them. So, know.
So you got a great coaching staff too. I want to speak a little bit about Jimmy and the crew. They're good-hearted people. Tell me, how did you bring these people together? What made you bring Jimmy and bring the other coaches together? How did all that come together to where it is now?
Man, it just came together sort of organically. It was like not forced. Like even before Jimmy was coaching, Kyson was playing. And Jimmy's running his business. He has this auto shop.
Yeah, so shout out Jimmy Auto Shop.
Jimmy G Automotive.
Yeah, shout
out. It was tough for him to get there. And then I used to always tell him, like, man, come on. And then one day he was able to come to a tournament. And I just threw him in the fire. I handed him a clipboard and said, you call him plays. He had no preparation. It probably been to 2 practices. Right. And I threw him out there, and we weren't bad because, we ended up, it was a midnight tournament. We only had 5 kids there, and one of the kids had never played before. And we ended up doing good. But from there, I just saw his brain like, okay, I could have did this better. I could have, did different things better. And then once that new season started in August, like he was our offensive coordinator, that also freed me up to be able to focus on defense. And then also when you're dealing with all the kids and parents and organizing, you don't want to wear that many hats to where you're spreading yourself thin. Right. And also I want this program to be able to flourish. I don't want to say without me, like I don't want to disappear off the earth, but I want it to be something that can function with me being able to, just have another team or go, with the girls team, right? Yeah. I know that I got coaches in place now that can run that team without me, telling people what to do or what to run, all because I trusted them and delegated to them early. Like, hey, you got to figure it out the same way I'm figuring it out. I don't have all the answers. Yeah. We're all learning together and we come together and brainstorm. But when he's out there on the field, I don't tell him, with the run, we might go over things at practice. But, I want my coaches, I want everybody that's involved in the program to be able to hold their own and also have the same responsibilities. That way it's not me trying to, again, this is me serving, not saying we're going to do things my way or the highway. Like, no, we're going to do things Yahweh or the highway. Amen. Yeah, so that makes it
I like
easier.
That. I like that.
To navigate around because it's not about Durwin being right. It's about us operating the correct way, together.
Yeah. Where do you see your program in the next, 5 years down the line? Where do you kind of see the program in, like,
I thought about this just the other day. Yeah. Knowing that the championships aren't important at all. It's all about developing the kids spiritually, mentally, emotionally. The physical part obviously is going to happen just with training, but I think the spiritual part, the mental and the emotional part, you don't need to play against other people to build that up.
You're right.
So
that's what I tell my daughter all the time.
Yeah, so now that I understand that, I'm like, okay, if we just say, you know what, we're going to go back to training for a whole nother year. We're going to go train, and we're not going to even go out there and spend a lot of money competing. We're going to invest that into whatever else. We would still be happy. We would still be getting better at the same rate, maybe even higher. Our progression might even take more of a jump up, right? So I don't want it to ever be a worldly thing where we're like, oh, we need this many championships. I think basketball, I got like 30 championships. Nobody know it, right? Because I don't really parade it around it. I haven't been coaching basketball competitively in club. But this year we won 12 championships. And I asked myself, like, okay, we probably learned more in our losses than we did in our wins, right? We probably look at our losses and say, okay, we need to do this, this, and this better. So just from a development standpoint, going through the channels and saying, okay, everybody wants to win, obviously, if you're competing, but you learn a lot in your losses if you're able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, what can we do better, right? Because sometimes in wins, you're like, oh, man, we got it. We don't even need to fix nothing. We roll it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. All these things we grew up in, right? But in a loss, you got to be critical. So one of the things my boy Coach Vince always says, don't accept anything and win that you won't accept in a loss. So kids sometimes wonder, like, why is Coach on me? We cooking. Yeah, but you didn't do your assignment right. Right? And you're not going to get away with that against another kid that's equally as talented.
It's creating those bad habits.
Yeah, exactly. So when it seems like I'm overcorrecting them, but really I'm helping them not fall into complacency. So as far as our program in 5 years, I would say if we can continue to keep our morals, values, and standards aligned, which we will, because we don't have a choice. We don't have a choice because we understand what else could happen if, God wasn't at the center. We could fall apart today, right? If we, make it about us or make it, about my ego or anything like that. So I think that keeping God as the center, continuing to pour into the kids, and I think that people who are like-minded gravitate towards us. So it's not a matter of trying to get a mass amount of people, but just having quality people around, quality families that we can spend time with. People that I always tell coaches, like, if I can look at the way you parent and the way that you coach and just know that I can trust you, then I don't got to keep peeking over there to see what you're doing. Like, I know you're good, and I know I can trust my kids around you. If there's an emergency, I can say, all right, go to Coach Jimmy. I know Coach Jimmy's going to look out for my kids. But if we got whoever, and I know they're questionable across the board, why would I have them even coaching when everything is fine? Like, it don't make sense because, this person is not, they're not able to handle the whole program in itself because I want to build something that's successful without me. Right. And the only way to do that is to have people around you that care as much as you do. So
absolutely. So we're running a little low on time. I know you have a tournament that you got to get to, and your crew is going to do their thing. They're going to win a championship. You guys are going to go head over to to the Syndicate League, do your thing there too as well. But before we get out of here, Kevo, you got anything?
No.
Okay, so we like to do a little prayer before we get out here. You go ahead and lead us in that prayer.
Okay. All right. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for getting us all here safely. Thank you for the opportunity to just sit down and fellowship, just to get to know these men closer. And thank you for the opportunity to be on my first podcast. May there be many more to come. Thank you for the people involved in making this so great, just building better habits, not only in ourselves, but knowing that we need to lead by example, just by showing and not just always talking. Thank you for everything you've put here on this earth for us to enjoy and use to flourish. We want to continue to build your kingdom. We want to continue to impact lives in a positive way. We want to continue to grow individually, so everything we do together is that much more better. Can you grant us safe travels to everywhere we're going from here, and just the opportunity to continue to show grace and to glorify your kingdom, Lord. I can't tell you enough how grateful I am for every opportunity to wake up and just pour into other people, and to know that everything that I've been through was a lesson to pass out blessings. In your name we pray, Heavenly Father. Amen.
Amen. Well, that was a great episode, Coach. Man, I'm just so honored to have you in here.
Y'all.
Like you said, it was your first podcast.
Yeah.
And I think this was just a amazing episode.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm glad you came too as well. We're gonna keep doing this, and we'll definitely have you back, maybe with Coach Jimmy. And,
have
the girls here and just chop it up. So that's all we got for this episode. We will see you all next week. Peace.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Believer Breakthrough Hour. We hope you found the discussion inspiring and uplifting. And if you enjoyed what you heard, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell, and share this episode with someone who might need it. Remember to live in purpose with God's word, pursue his plan for your life, and seek to make a positive impact in the world around you. Until next time.